Hello and welcome to Practical Python. This series of videos is going to teach you to program using Python, and we're going to be focusing on the practical rather than on theory. So each week we're going to be going through a few example exercises in the videos, and we're going to be setting a few homework exercises for you to try out, and then the week after we'll be giving solutions to those homework exercises. So I really recommend that you follow along as I'm coding and do the same yourself, and to try out the homework exercises, because the best way to learn is really to practice. Okay, so the first thing that we need to do is to download the Python programming language. Now some people get slightly confused about why we need to do this, because there's many programs on your computer already that run and you haven't had to download Python or something similar. Now the reason for that is that computers only understand a very limited language, and that language consists of 0 and 1. So all of the programs that are on your computer currently will just be a big stream of zeros and ones, and your computer knows how to understand them. Obviously we don't want to write programs using just zeros and ones, because it would take forever and be error prone and very tedious. So we use a language like Python, and what Python provides us is a thing called an interpreter. And an interpreter, as the name would suggest, basically takes Python code, the Python language, and converts that into zeros and ones that your computer can understand. So that's why we need to download a separate program for Python, which will interpret our Python code and tell the machine what to do. So what you want to download is the latest Python 3, and this is at python.org/downloads. You want the latest Python 3 version. Don't go for Python 2.6 because there are some quite significant differences. Just hit that and it'll download for your operating system the correct installer. So just run through as you would normally on your operating system, and then you should have Python installed. So you now should have Python installed, and you should notice that you'll have a new program called idle. In my Mac it's here in Spotlight, on Windows this will just be in your start menu, and idle is a program that allows us to easily write and run Python programs. So if you just open that, and you see that it starts up in this thing called the Python shell. Now you don't really need to worry about what the Python shell is. We're just going to be writing proper Python programs using files, but basically what this allows you to do is type in Python statements and see the results of them straight away. So I can put in like 2 + 2 for example, or 5 × 5, and it will evaluate it and give me the result. Again, don't worry if you don't understand that, because you don't need to really use the shell for these examples. So what we're going to do is create our first program. So we go to File and New File, and we're going to save that as a Python program. Now Python program is just a text file with the .py extension. So I'm going to save this as hello.py. I've already got one called that, I'm just going to replace it. So now you've got a file called hello.py, which is a Python program, and we're going to make it print out hello world to the shell. So the way we do that is we type print, open bracket, open quote, and then we type hello world, close the quote, close the bracket, click file and click save, and then if you go to the run menu and click run module, you can see out here in the shell it prints out hello world. Congratulations, you've written your first program. Now we can change the text in here to be whatever we want it to be. So we can say bonjour tout le monde if we were in France, and if we run that, you see it prints out the French version. We can put in whatever we want in here. I'm going to say Python is great. So I'm just trying to get across the point that whatever you put inside the quotes here comes out in the shell. Now it's very important that you copy exactly the characters I've got in here. For example, if you miss off the bracket off the end and attempt to run it, Python shouts at us. It's not happy. Similarly, if you missed off the quote, for example, and you tried to run that, you get a message saying invalid syntax. So basically, if you get in any of those errors, the first thing to check is to check that your characters are exactly the same as what I've got on my screen. So computers are very, very picky about what they understand, so you have to make sure that every character is exactly correct. Now, we've just got one statement here, but we can put multiple print statements in here. And what Python will do is it will read the file from top to bottom. So it will read the first line, process it, read the second line, process that. So if we run this, you see it prints Python is great, and then it prints, oh yes it is. Then we can add another one in here if we want. And so you see it just runs through from the top to the bottom and executes every statement. So that concludes the first in this series of videos. What we've covered today is what Python is, the Python interpreter, how to download and install it, and how to write very simple programs that print things to the Python shell. The next episode in this series is going to cover some slightly more complex programs where we're going to be taking user input and doing things with the user input. There's going to be some homework exercises for this week, which I'm going to put in the comments section. So please have a go at those before watching next week's video, and we'll go over those at the start of next week's video. So if you found this video useful, please give me a thumbs up, and don't forget to subscribe to get next week's video. See you next time.